Hey, disc golf fans, welcome back to another edition of Running It with Nate Sexton. I am your co-host, Jarett. He is the world of professional disc golf's newest fashionista, Mr. Nate Sexton. Nate, how you doing tonight, man?
Thanks, man. I didn't know I made it all the way to fashionista already, but I appreciate it.
Well, with those awesome designs that you're putting out for your fans, how could you not be?
Yeah, we got some cool stuff. I mean, just kind of an idea that I talked to my buddy Andrew down in LA about to work some more merchandise. And I was first planning on like doing it how I've always done it and ordering like a couple hundred t-shirts and having them here at the house and shipping them out. But he had this better idea to be able to offer like a wider variety of products, and it's all just pre-orders, and then everything gets made to order and shipped directly from him. So that's the store link. The easiest way to find it is probably to go through my Instagram bio, and you can click right there and see the stuff we have. It's like hoodies and sweatshirts and windbreakers and hats and stuff. But as of the time that this episode drops, the pre-order window is only going to be open for like another day. So if you haven't seen that yet and you want to, hurry up, check it out. Maybe you still have time to get yourself some Nate Sexton gear.
You know what, Nate? And it makes a lot of sense, too, because you've got all of this free time on your hands as a professional disc golfer, doing the show mez, your own podcast, a father, a husband. Why not just throw one more thing in there?
I've tried, and sometimes it works okay, but the hardest thing, I think, is just like getting the sizing right, because you're like, how many 2XLs do I need? Okay, maybe a couple 3XLs, and you always get it wrong. Like you run out of a size real quick, and that's the size everybody wants all of a sudden. And then you're like, man, dang, I missed out on hooking all these people up with a shirt they wanted because I couldn't get the numbers right. With the pre-orders, all that stress is off me.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it the right way. Now, Nate, before we get to our guest, everybody knows we got to take care of a little bit of business and talk about our friends over at FisherDiscGolf.com, home of the disc stacks. You can catch them live every Tuesday and Friday on Facebook and YouTube. You can find them at the Fisher Disc Golf page on Facebook. Really doing some awesome things. They've got something new that they're going to be introducing. I saw today on their social media. They're going to be doing a hat stacks similar to their disc stacks. So they're constantly adding new things to there. Fisher Disc Golf has some awesome new apparel for the disc golfers to get out there, hoodies and dry fits and all sorts of neat things like that. Of course, they've got all 18 brands of discs available, constantly adding new stuff on there. They still have a few of those holiday boxes left, and as of this morning, when I was speaking to Levi, the box that features the dynamic basket is still available. So that's still out there. So you guys can visit FisherDiscGolf.com, pick up one of those holiday mystery boxes that's packed with goodies, and maybe you're the one that gets that basket. Again, we know that they have 18 different brands, a ton of great apparel, guys that are really just doing it the right way, guys from Michigan that are just really kind of making a big scene in the disc golf world, and we can't thank them enough. And a wonderful way to support the show is by supporting our sponsors. So go ahead and visit FisherDiscGolf.com. And Nate, if they want to get that free shipping and save 10% off their first purchase, what do they got to do?
Yeah, you got to use our code RUNIT10. I almost thought you were going to forget free shipping. I was ready. I had that locked and loaded, ready to go for Fisher. But free shipping, that matters. And RUNIT10 will save you 10%.
Yeah, again, if you're a disc golf fan and you're buying discs anyway, a lot of times people say, well, I'll just go to my local store because I don't want to pay for shipping. Well, you don't have to worry about that. Free shipping, 10% off, and just so many discs to choose from. So like Nate said, code RUNIT10 and save yourself 10% and support the show and support our sponsors. Now, Nate, I also wanted to mention our friends over at UDisc. We talked a lot about them last week, and we know how important they are to what you guys do with the Big Sexy commentary. And they've got a really new, awesome feature that just rolled out on the UDisc app.
Yeah, and I actually cannot wait to try this. I'm going to try this my next practice round that I play, but this is map scoring mode for UDisc. And basically what this does is instead of, obviously UDisc already could keep some stats for you, and you could tell the app like how far you made this putt from or when you went out of bounds, and you could get some statistics for your round. But this now is going to be like with the GPS in your phone, you're going to have like a bird's eye view of the course, and you just have to say, here I am at my lie, and it's going to like triangulate that position and draw you like a little picture of like, okay, your drive went a little right, and then you happen to make it from 100 feet, and it shows you like the history of where you went, where your discs went to navigate that entire course. So it sounds really cool. You're going to be able to see this thing and be able to share like a great shot. If you make it from 250 feet, you're like, dude, I was over there by the tree. You can prove it now. It's like you show it right there. This is where I landed, and that's where I made it from, you know? So map-based scoring, super cool new feature. They're always adding new stuff, but this one, it's got me excited for sure. I'm going to try that, and I'm going to post it when I have a little round and have that time to put in a round and show you guys like where exactly what spots I found myself in on the course.
Yeah, I'm really excited to check this out. So, guys, if you're listening and you're not already using the UDisc app, make sure you hop into your app store on whatever phone that you're using. Go ahead and download UDisc, have it right on your phone. And like I said, I'm finding out from this show that it's more than just a scorecard on your phone. I mean, it can really help enhance your entire game.
And gosh, for me, I know I said this last time, but it so enhances my enjoyment of consuming professional disc golf. Like, I don't always have time to like sit there and watch a live broadcast, but I definitely have time to pop open UDisc and go, oh my gosh, look at that runner birdies, or he's going to equal that, or, you know, and just keep track of all these statistics. I don't know. I nerd out on it, and I really like having that available when I want to see how the tournament's going. It tells such a deeper story than just looking at the final scores.
Yeah, so really an awesome tool for whether you're a beginner or you're a serious player who's out there playing a lot. UDisc can do more than just keep your score, but it can really enhance your entire disc golf experience, and we thank them for being a friend of this show. We've gotten all your emails, guys. We've gotten all the comments and all of the inbox messages. They've asked for it, and they're getting it. Who's our guest today?
Well, I think what we're going to do is have this guy back as kind of like a recurring guest. It's my good friend, Jeremy Koling, just to get that out of the way. It's the big Jerm. But what I want to do is have like 6 or 7 guests and then bring him back and check back in with him. And when he gets boring, which he hasn't done yet in the years that I've known him, then obviously we'll stop having him on. But we might as well squeeze every last drop out of him while we've got him. So without further ado, it's my main man. It's Big Jerm Koling.
Welcome back, Jerm.
Well, that was an amazing introduction. I just wanted to go ahead and right off the top, just go ahead and let you guys know that I'm changing my name from Big Jerm to the Big Kahuna. So from here on out, I will not be recognizing Jerm as the surname anymore. It is Kahuna.
All right, we got a name for this episode. It's going to be confusing for people looking in the feeds, but the guest for this episode, Big Kahuna.
Dude, dropping it right here. Hot dish for everybody. The Big Kahuna's with us. I couldn't be any more excited.
Oh man, yeah, it's been what has it been? It's only been a couple of weeks since we last talked, but I mean, I get the pleasure of doing showmez with you every week, so it really doesn't feel like it's been any time at all.
No, I mean, we're definitely collaborating at this point. I'm happy about it though, because we've been missing out on the in-person time with all the suspensions of the tour and everything else, which we've talked about at length, but definitely happy to have you back on. Just the COVID, the everything going weird. You've heard about it, haven't you? You heard about it a little bit.
I remember. Now.
Okay, yeah, I thought maybe you'd heard about it. Good. Yeah, everything obviously fine, but I'm just happy to have you back on, and I think after the story you gave us last time, it was kind of a like, yeah, okay, we're gonna have to we're gonna have to see some more stuff that's in there, because obviously I've spent tons of time with you, but there's still things that you'll bring up that obviously I haven't heard yet. So that's the kind of stuff I'm trying to bring to the fans, just this goofy stuff and stories and honestly, you help me remember things. I feel like you have a lot better and clearer memory than I do.
The guy that I was partnered with messaged me like the day after the podcast came out. And he set the story straight with all the facts that actually happened.
Okay. Well, maybe a quick update is in order. The guy that from the original story at the Steve Brinster course, the partner that was falling down a lot, maybe it turns out wasn't falling down at all.
Yeah, that was the first thing he said. He was like, well, I don't really remember falling over at all, but...
Well, you wouldn't remember.
Well, the other thing is he said he doesn't remember drinking and playing, and I don't even know if I think he said he doesn't even know if he ever drinks and plays disc golf. So
oh my God, you really do. You might have done him kind of dirty.
I felt bad because when he called me out, when he introduced himself, I was like, oh man, this guy came searching. But we did have a nice little we got to see each other at Vermont. I think I may have mentioned that in the story. Last year or the year before or so. So like we kind of had a, oh my gosh, hey, it's you moment. And we got to relive that special day once again briefly. But yeah, you know, I mean, the legend grows as the story goes. And so, you know, as the years go by, I try to add in at least one more detail every time I tell the story. So ask
No
me
need
to
to
tell
let
the story again in 1 year. We'll see what new things I throw in there.
There's no need to let facts get in the way of a fun story, Jerm.
That's what I said. I was like, you know what, man, it was a pretty epic story. I may have gotten some details wrong, but I mean, that's what a story is, man. That's what it is. It's just supposed to be entertainment.
Well, the 2021 tour schedule's been released. Have you guys both had a chance to sit down and talk? And do we know what events we're going to see Big Sexy out on the course together on?
Oof,
Well, I think it's a little bit tentative still, but certainly Las Vegas. That's event number one coming up, and I think at this point, you know, I don't know, we might have to start calling it Big Sexy Barry because we got a trio now.
Yep.
So it's going to be all three of us working together and on the practice rounds and everything. So I think that's going to be really fun, and I'm so looking forward to it, despite you know, all the issues with trying to host a large scale event in these times. I'm just really looking forward to getting out there and trying to throw. Yeah,
2020 was not only did was it a bummer for a million actual like main reasons, but the sad thing for disc golf is that they really didn't get the Big Sexy feel, not in Jerm at least. I mean, we gave them the Memorial, and then we gave them the CBS and ESPN broadcast. And actually, I guess we did the post-produced stuff for the DDO, but that didn't come out for months after the event. So it really was weird because the brand itself was growing so strong, and the merchandise was moving well, and it ended up being a pretty nice like side gig. You know, just financially, just you know, it's kind of unexpected that we would merchandise the Big Sexy brand, but it became a hit, and then like just like that, boom! It kind of gets derailed a bit, but you know, it just paved the way for an opportunity for Paul Ulibarri to step up, and like Nate has said there, you know, we've got some pretty exciting things in the plans for 2021, and we're going to see if the microphone is big enough for the three of us.
I mean, DDO again is a high priority one for me because I like going to Emporia and seeing those guys and what the big show that they put on. And then after that, kind of the West Coast swing, although it's like almost too much for me to do San Francisco, Santa Cruz, Portland, and then Worlds all back to back to back to back. So we'll see which ones of those I can do, and it all kind of works with my wife's schedule and when she's working the night shift, and you know, things can get crazy. But I'll probably play the majority of those tournaments, and then after that, obviously the World Championships that I briefly mentioned. Then I want to play the Preserve because I want to see Kale's property, and I want to play the Ledgestone because it's awesome, and I want to play
former champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to play the MVP and the Green Mountain and the USDGC. And I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anything there, but those are kind of a European Open. That would be the one, I guess. That's a kind of a big one, major and all.
Sure.
That's my dream schedule right now. If I could get to those tournaments, I would be so happy. Obviously, hard to predict anything right now, but that's as much predicting as I can do is that I want to play those.
My prediction is, you know, if everything somehow is able to run smoothly, which, you know, there have been a lot of surprises in, you know, the initial cancellation or the postponement of tournaments. I definitely thought there would be a lot more, uncertainty with coming into the 2021 season. But I think that now we've kind of weathered, I'm not going to say we weathered the COVID storm, but we've weathered like our expectations, and we kind of know how to like organize around it now that we've been exposed to that environment. And I think that with that knowledge of what works and what does not work, I think that tournaments are more likely than not going to continue running. And, you know, I say that with just a little bit of hesitation, I suppose, because, you know, you never really know what's going to happen. But at this point, my schedule is pretty much from March to September. I mean, I I want to have a little bit more time here in Charlotte and home and resting and being away from tour, but my commitment to Joma is strong. I really want to be there for them to do all the events. So as of right now, my plan is to play every single national tour and every single disc golf pro tour, with the exception of potentially missing a couple of those Portland events because that's right around Jules' birthday, and we have been trying to plan some sort of vacation. Off season didn't really work because of COVID restrictions, so we've got our eyes set on the summer. So again, it's really all dependent on how it all shakes out. But as of right now, every single event that Nate's talking about being at, more than likely I'll be there too.
That's how the Kahuna does it. Every time. if ever I go anywhere, the Kahuna's there, and I love that about him.
Well, where are you going to go on vacation?
Well, I don't think a day has passed in the last 3 weeks to a month that Jules has not mentioned Hawaii. And I tell you what, I really, really want to go to Hawaii as well. There's 2 states in the U.S. I haven't been to yet, and one of them, surprisingly, is Maine, because I've been so close to stopping up there. But a lot of really great disc golf courses I really want to check out up there at some point. I've driven through a lot of states without actually stopping in, so I don't know if you count that or not. But the only other state that I actually have not been to is Hawaii, and I mean, who doesn't want to go check out Hawaii at some point?
Where else would the Big Kahuna go?
Well, we had originally talked about going to Tulum, Mexico. There's some really great sightseeing there, beautiful beaches. And I've never been to Mexico, and I've never really been anywhere tropical aside from Puerto Rico for my sister's wedding back in 2014. So, I've actually never been on a true vacation either. Every time I've gone traveling for disc golf or for some other purpose other than actually just being on vacation. And it's kind of an amazing privilege to have the opportunity to go on vacation, but it's something that I think we all, if you have the means to afford it and to go treat yourself to it, it's a nice way to just break the monotony of everyday life. And it's something that, we've been really looking forward to in this house for a long time.
Couple things. Hawaii is the only state I haven't been to, so I want to go there as well. That sounds awesome. And I think I got to mention our next guest coming up, who I'm super excited about, who's been in Hawaii for what feels like 6 months based on her Instagram, is Paige Pierce. So we're going to have Paige Pierce on the show the very next episode. Really excited to talk to her. We're going to have her on the show the day after she finally gets back from the off-season time she spent in Hawaii. And I'm really excited to talk to her. Anyway, next thing
I will be paying attention to that show because I want to find out where she's been, how she's been able to stay there that long, and can I get some of that?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, she knows some stuff about Hawaii, that's for sure. She can definitely give you some advice, I think.
Please.
And then secondly, Tulum. I've been there thrice, man.
What?
That's one of the places.
Have you really?
That's one of the places that I've really been to a lot. And it was 2 times in high school because my dad worked at Oregon State University in forest science, and they had a decomposition study down in that area. So
very cool.
2 times in high school, my dad had to go there, and we kind of like rolled it into the whole family going, which was awesome. We did like snorkeling and just kind of hanging out. It was pretty, we're doing it definitely on a budget and having a good time just as our family, and doing as much as we could with 4 brothers and 2 parents. But and then I went back for Bree and I's honeymoon. So when I was an adult, obviously. So yeah, I've been there. I would definitely highly recommend it. It's a really nice place.
I'm super excited, and that now I get to listen to the podcast next week, and you have to tell Paige about your experiences, and she can tell you about Hawaii, and then Jules and I can then discern where we want to go based on next week's podcast.
That's smart. That's the kind of service we hope to bring with this show. Is a lot of different things.
All I can think about right now is, Jerm, you have no idea what you just did to me, because I don't know if you know this or not, but Nate's kind of a big deal in the Pacific Northwest, and I am going to get bombarded with messages now. Why isn't Jerm coming to Portland? What? Why would he? Because every single episode comes with a bunch of questions. With, well, when's Nate gonna have Paul come back to Oregon? When's Nate gonna? And so I'm gonna get crushed now. Thanks.
Look, here's the thing. Portland is one of my absolute favorite locations on tour. Austin and Portland, the two cities whose motto is "Keep it weird" or strange, and that is all about. I love that atmosphere. I love that culture. I love the arts. I love everything about Portland. I love the music. I love the gastronomy. I love the city itself has a really live, feel to it that really I connect with, and I really hope I can at least come to Portland for at least a week. But like I said, it just remains to be seen. But the plan is to hopefully swing in a little bit of time up there this year.
Possible vacation spot. I mean,
we've done that before. Jules and I had she spent her birthday up there in 2019, and then we ended up going to Washington State, to Falls River Falls, I believe is the name of it, which is just this absolutely spectacular waterfall, and we got to spend the day out there, and it was an amazing day. But if you know Jules, and I'm guessing only Nate knows Jules of the three of us, she is a beach person. Her soul and her heart belong at the beach on the shore, and I don't think we can spend another vacation up in Washington State. I know they have beaches, but she wants some warm sun.
Yeah, that's harder to find for sure.
That's what we're looking for.
Well, cool, man. I wanted to. I thought of a couple questions for you, and the first one that I kind of want to dig into in our conversation. I feel like, you're the big guy. Everybody knows, and they think of you.
The Kahuna.
All too often, I feel like they think of you as only being big and, muscular and just a great-looking guy. But I don't think people think enough. I don't think people think enough about your artistic side, because
okay.
I know you've kind of had a chance to talk about this stuff a little bit, but I thought with like all this, that little poll that they were doing, the discussion of like player logos. You've designed or at least had a hand in designing so many different logos, and you have like a pretty serious passion for being like a crafty guy and a graphic design guy. So I just wanted to give you a chance to sort of hit us with some of that, how you got into that, what you're doing with it now, and all the logos that you've kind of fathered.
Well, I guess to knock that one out, the logos that I'm the most proud of that I've worked on, I guess I love my logo. I've tried designing things that for me in the past, and I get a little bit sheepish about it for some reason. I just don't really get as excited about working on a project that says me, my name, my logo, my identity, so on and so forth. So when I designed my logo, which was about 10 years ago now, it was the first time that I ever really connected with something graphically that had my likeness on it. And that logo has continued to evolve just slightly here and there. Not anything that anyone else would notice, but I'm always tinkering with stuff like that. So I'm pleased with the way my logo came out. But the most successful logo I think I've designed is Paul Ulibarri's logo, the Uli Shield, which won best logo or best player logo in the sport on that recent poll that Robbie guy did on his Instagram page, which is where you beat me by 17 votes out of 3,500 people for best commentator. And the other one is the Saki Bomb Chevron logo. So Saki Bomb's main logo that he's been using for 5-6 years, I designed that as well. As well as
that's
just
that's Ricky Wysocki for anybody who is uninitiated.
Okay, yes, correct. Ricky Wysocki. I designed over the offseason James Conrad's logo, but I don't know if he's going to unveil that or not, but it's a pretty cool chain link inspired J and C that connect two chain links would. But I more than just designing logos, which is one of my main things I really, really like to do. And thank you, by the way, for giving me this opportunity to talk about this. I just love being crafty in general. one of my main passions that has developed over the last 2 years is working with my Cricut machine, which is like my vinyl cutter, and it cuts out a lot more than just vinyl, but I usually use it to cut out heat transfer vinyl stuff. So I've been working on designing a lot of the players' shirts that you see out on tour. Some of the shirts that like James Conrad wore this year that were really sharp, or last year with this end of a logo on the rose shirt that he wore. Anytime you see any of the shirts that I'm wearing now, it's stuff that I've done just in my craft room. And I must have spent over $1,500 just on different vinyl rolls and glitter sparkle vinyls and just stuff that's kind of wild out there.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to when you have the Cricut with you, because then I can bring shirts, or we can go to like Dick's Sporting Goods or something, and it's like, oh man, sweet. Because I don't know, maybe this is something people don't really think about, but like if you score like a sweet polo out there on the road somewhere, you can't just wear that thing right away. It doesn't have any sponsors on it, so you have to ship that over to Innova, get them to do it all up and make it look nice. But that can be kind of a long turnaround time sometimes if there's a lot of players doing it or they're busy with other stuff. So now that Jerm has like the mobile shirt shop, like I'm always stoked for that, because I can just get a shirt and then you're like, you're like taking it to another level, like pushing me into color places I might not usually go, which is kind of fun, just to like, get some cool stuff. And so that's always really fun. You didn't even mention that the work you did to help along the disc flip caricature of mine. That's on the, you were kind of part of that as well. That graces all the Sexton Firebirds.
So the 2015 Firebird has that original DX Firebird graphic as the main element, but when you see Nate Sexton's silhouette, that is a graphic that I thought really exemplified your focus and like really showed Nate Sexton. Like, you seem very composed when you're on the course, and that disc flip to me represented you being in tune to the next shot, having a short memory, being focused and geared in, and ended up being kind of an iconic thing that you've used for the Sexton shootout. You've used it for pound bag merchandise. And yeah, I it's hard to say I forgot. It's just there's so many things, but yeah, I definitely didn't mention it, and that was definitely one of my prouder things, is seeing that disc be so popular and so sought after. And when I think about it that way, I don't really even think about my artwork being on there because it's so heavily prominent on the DX Firebird artwork. But it certainly is an important element that's added to the disc.
Yeah, I think you weren't quite as like start to finish with it as you were obviously with Yuli and Wysocki and their logos. So maybe you don't think of it quite the same way, but you certainly had your paws on that and helped me create something that was kind of cool. Because I've said this in interviews before. People ask, "Oh, when did you start doing the flip?" And it's like, I have no idea. Like I never thought like, hey, this sure would look cool, and like tried to practice it. It was just like something that my hands started doing to like calm my nerves and while I'm like getting ready. So I have no idea when I started doing that or why. And, it just kind of became part of my routine. So then it definitely was never something I like thought about or practiced. My brother kind of like spins it on his finger when he gets ready and I flip it over. So I don't know. We have kind of we both do a similar thing, but like it wasn't in the lab. It wasn't like a cool move that I developed in the lab and then brought to the course. It just kind of happened. I don't know.
Colin's kind of swaggy the way he spins that on his offhand and then like kind of just loads up, and like he's pretty good putter.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely swaggy. The other thing that he's pretty swaggy about with the putting, I think, is he's like, I don't know how many people I've seen do this, but he's like, he doesn't care if the putter is wet or muddy. And we came up playing in Oregon and everything, and I'd always be like, hey, you need a towel? He's like, oh, no, I'll dry it off after I putt, and I'm kind of like, what? Like, he doesn't, that's not a big deal. He's just like, whatever. Yeah, it's a little muddy and wet. That's not a problem for me.
Brian Schweber
this is my younger brother, for anybody who doesn't know. Colin is my younger brother. Quite a good disc golfer, but, an engineer by day. A disc golfer.
Not to be confused with the NBA's Cleveland Cavaliers, Colin Sexton, who is also a swaggy baller.
Yeah, that guy is intense.
Yeah, he's good. Colin Sexton
Putting up some big numbers.
Yeah. They just beat the Nets twice in 1 week, I think. The big fancy Nets with James Harden.
Yeah, I saw that Colin broke his scoring record in the same jersey that he was wearing in the same arena on Kyrie Irving appreciation night. Like, oops. This is not supposed to be about you, Colin Sexton, but he made it about him.
Nice.
Do you guys, so you talked about, I guess the disc flip is almost a ritual. Conrad, he fans that disc so hard and so fast before he goes off. So I guess those are kind of just things that you're used to doing. Is there any superstition in either of your games? Like if you guys win a tournament, are you coming back with the same shirt next week?
Ooh.
I wouldn't take it that far. I wouldn't take it that far, but I would be lying if I didn't tell you that I know what shirt I was wearing when I won the USDGC. And there have been times where I'm like, man, final day, backs against the wall, grab old blue, throw that shirt on and just feel like a U.S. champion today and go and it doesn't always work. But I guess you could call that superstition. It's not like I bring it with me to every tournament or I always wear it on the last day, but there's certainly been mornings where I woke up and was like, it's going to take something special. And I'll look in my suitcase and be like, hey, this could be just the spark we need to get over the hump.
Literally the same exact thing for me. I have definitely remembered exactly the outfit that I was wearing and tried to recreate it. And I just feel like in the end, there has never been a time where I've recreated that magic of any of those special outfits. So, it's never quite worked in that way like I'd hoped, but I can't think of any other like specific superstitions other than just my attire. Can you think of anything, Nate?
No, not really. I don't think either of us is very superstitious, but yeah, I mean,
I'm a little
routine.
stitious, but I wouldn't say I'm superstitious,
Just a wee bit stitious.
Yeah, just I'm like I forget who originally said that, but shout out to the person who originally quoted that one. That's a classic.
What about anyone else? Is there anyone on the tour that's like gotta have a junior bacon cheeseburger before they play, or has to? I mean, is there anyone else that's got anything like that?
Paul has to win.
Yeah, Macbeth.
Yep.
Yeah, he gets all weird when he. Yeah, that's probably the closest.
Yep.
No, I'm sure there are, but I'm not aware of. I don't think there's one that's like a running joke. That's like, oh, if he doesn't get that smoothie, I can't think of anything like that.
I mean, well, okay. So during my U.S. title run, I ended up getting something. Just came to my mind. I ended up doing the same thing every single day. So maybe not between tournament to tournament, but if something's working for me in an actual event, I might do it the next day. And if it works again, then I'll be like, all right, that's what I'm doing for the rest of this tournament. So the USDGC week, I was pretty much locked in my room by myself. I think Alex Geisinger was in the living room, but like I was just focused on the USDGC that week. And so I had my door closed. I was watching Game of Thrones because I was trying to catch up at the time. This is 2016. And then the next morning I went to Chick-fil-A down there in Rock Hill on Cherry Road, and I got the same meal every day. I did the same warm-up routine, and I went home and I did it all over again. I mean, and I think I listened to an Om chant, which was like a meditative chant at a certain hertz frequency that kind of got my mind in the right place. I listened to that the night before the first event, and so I listened to that every night before I went to sleep. And I've not done any of those things ever again at any other tournament. That was just a one and done.
I'm not here to call you a liar, but you know damn well you didn't get that Chick-fil-A on Sunday morning.
There wasn't a Sunday morning at USDGC, and there wasn't even a Saturday.
There you go.
So
yeah. USDGC ought to end on a Saturday, but the hurricane blew in and ended Jerm's USDGC on a Friday. So he can be telling the truth. And I'll say this. I think maybe this shows maybe I lag about a year behind Jerm on my pop culture, But I was binging some Game of Thrones when I won the USDGC in 2017.
No kidding. No kidding.
We were hitting. I distinctly remember we had upgraded to unlimited data when we like went on the full-time family in the RV. Yeah. And I distinctly remember that month that my report came in and said, "Hey, you just crossed over 100 gigs." And it was because I was watching Game of Thrones through the phone, like onto the TV in the RV.
Wow.
And I remember thinking like, damn, 100 gigs. Because I had just kind of like switched to unlimited from like a more regulated plan. And it seemed like just an unfathomable amount of streaming had been done. And that was why.
We never discussed that. The U.S. champion gets I think they usually get a say in the artwork that they make for a commemorative disc, or maybe they just asked me to be a part of that because I do graphic design. Did they ask you to be a part of that or no?
They definitely like ran some ideas by me, but yeah, I don't think I was probably quite as involved as you.
I mean, not surprisingly, because this doesn't surprise me because none of the other U.S. champions or graphic designers really have those kind of skills or that kind of motivation. But I was the first disc golf U.S. champion to design their own commemorative stamp, and when I was coming up with the design concepts, one of the ideas I had was to actually design a little graphic that represented each one of those routines. I was going to do a dragon. I was going to do some sort of chicken sandwich. I was going to do some sort of ohm symbol. And like all the other things. There were more things I can't remember now, but all the things that were associated with that week, I was going to try to put them together in some sort of like collage. And I couldn't really come up with an aesthetic that really made any sense or would have been interesting to anybody. And then I would have thinking like, why is there a dragon and a chicken sandwich on this disc? Like it would have been really stupid now I think about it. But I was going to have fun with it. But in the end, I ended up going with the maze design. If anyone's seen that one, it's a concentric maze that has words written in the actual maze design. And it's a workable maze, so you go from the outside into the middle. And so that was kind of a cool concept that ended up coming together.
That's awesome. Jerm, I get a ton of questions, and I guess this is applied to both of you guys. I get so many questions about when you're doing practice rounds or you're out there playing, do you put the earbuds in? Do you listen to music? Or just in general, what some of your favorite bands are. So we're here, we're hanging out, we're talking. Let's talk music for a minute.
This will be a funny answer for because me and Jerm have kind of a thing about music and playing that comes up quite a lot.
Don't play it. I love having some chill music. I like putting poolside something that's upbeat but not too beat heavy, just like chill beat kind of music, and I like that just to kind of like set the mood. And Nate likes The Sounds of Silence, which is another great song, but
that's the only song I listen to while I play.
He won't even let me play that, so sorry, Simon and Garfunkel, we can't even give you a nod here. But I actually like to listen to music when I go to sleep. We usually have some sort of ambient like 548 hertz sleeping music, so I brought that with me on tour last year at the Memorial, and like 3 minutes into it, Nate was like, "Are you going to have that playing all night?" And I was like, well, that was the plan. And he was like, "Can you not? Or put it on headphones or something?" And I was like, "Yeah, Nate, that's fine." So,
no, I mean, I'm not.
What are your interests in music? I don't even know.
I definitely like music, but I've never been a music while I play guy, because I don't know. I like to talk. I like the conversation, and I like to just kind of. It's hard for me to focus, I guess. Like maybe the disc flips aren't quite as clean when there's music coming in. I'm not sure, but yeah, Jerm is like definitely a guy. You know, I don't know how many Bluetooth speakers he owns, but I would put it over 5. Like at these big like, because I've seen him like hooking up more than one, putting them around the room. Then it's like, well, dude, I got this new one. It's $400. It's a little better, so the other ones are kind of obsolete now. So he's definitely a guy who. You know, he's got the cart, he's got it rigged up, he's got bungee cords, he's got it all ready to go. And he's kind of like, you know, when we're getting out of the car to do like a practice round, you know, it's like a 25-minute thing going for him where he's kind of strapping everything onto the cart, getting the shoes on, getting the snacks, whatever. And I think it's just kind of natural. He gets the music going too. And there's been definitely a few times where I'm like, all right. And a lot of times I don't want it, like I feel bad about it. So like I'll go 2 or 3 holes. and then I'll like shank one. I'm like, hey man, can you turn that off? And then he's always like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. But like that's his go-to, is to turn on the music. And sometimes I try to kind of power through, but no, I can't really do it. So yeah, in terms of like specific bands, yeah, I mean, I like the band Dawes quite a bit. I like Connor Oberst and like Bright Eyes and Better Oblivion Community Center and the projects that he's been a part of. A lot of stuff though, in that sort of same vein. And then, you know, like I'm not opposed to some Jerm music either. Like I tend to like the stuff that Jerm plays, but yeah, just not while I'm trying to putt.
So what is Jerm music? What are you playing, Jerm?
Okay, look, I'm going to sound like I hate this answer, okay? Because this is the answer that everyone gives, and it seems just so repetitive, but very eclectic. I am all about breaking up the monotony. I used to listen to a lot of like techno when I was in high school, and then like your tastes get refined. You don't need that much energy anymore. So I started listening to, you know, more chill indie music. And when I got into indie music, I started thinking, oh my gosh, why haven't I been listening to anything else? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of like, I get that it's nice and chill, but like sometimes you need to break it up, listen to some hip hop and just get that energy out. And so I really am very aware of what I need or what I'm looking for before I put something on. I'd say in general, the genre that I'm listening to the most is probably going to be something like a Future Islands radio on Spotify. It's very upbeat, but it's just really like cool, like kind of retro sounding synthy 80s, but like modern indie. I love like the Flaming Lips. I love like I'm trying to think of like names that people know, because there's a lot of stuff that's like chill stuff. Like I really like what Nate listens to when we're in the car and we actually are playing music. I love the stuff he's playing, like Angelo D'Augustine, Bon Iver, Sufjan Stevens. I mean, I could go on and on because music is so powerful for me, and it has such a important part of like me expressing my feelings at any given time. So it's hard to like break it down, but there's only a few things that I really won't listen to. Like I never really got into metal, hardcore metal never really did it for me, even though I did listen to a podcast that like got into Norwegian black death metal from the early 90s, and like I gave it about 2 weeks of like trying to like understand where those emotions were coming from, but it just didn't express anything that I needed to get out of my system. So like I put that to the side. I never got into any like twangy pop country, but I do like a nice country. I like old Johnny Cash stuff. I like some Ryan Adams, like really soulful stuff, but then at the same time Ryan Adams is kind of an abusive human being, and so it made me like second guess my music preferences when it came to Ryan Adams, even though he's so good.
It's hard. I think you don't have to support it, but like there's no question that like bad people can make good music.
It's like, Michael
that
Jackson.
Doesn't mean you don't have to support it after you know that, but like I don't know. It's like a person. You don't have to be like a nice person to make good art.
I know. It's like I don't want to be like this cancel culture dude who can't appreciate, like you're saying. Like I want to be able to appreciate the arts for what they are. They're art, and art is all about how it instills those feelings in you and how you interpret it. But unfortunately, the interpretation I have in art, when it comes to people that have done things that I don't really agree with, it definitely taints my enjoyment of
for sure. I'm not trying to give people a pass. I'm just recognizing the fact that, you know, that it's certainly not a requirement to be like a nice guy. And, you know, once stuff like that comes out, it certainly makes me kind of reevaluate my preferences and where I want money to go if I'm going to, you know, support something. But yeah, I mean, how weird is it that the guy who knows specifically what hertz he wants to sleep at is like really in tune with what music he wants to listen to in any given moment? You never would have thought that, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's a good sleeping frequency, man. You should try it out sometime. If you could ever get past your disdain for music and sounds in general, Nate, you might really like it.
Yeah. If only I knew if only I had something to measure the hertz on my songs, then maybe I would know a little bit more about why I'm feeling what I'm feeling.
I don't have a hertz measure. You just search 548 hertz playlist and then something comes up. And sometimes, you know what? I'm going to let you in on a little secret, Nate. Sometimes it's not 548 hertz. They just lie and they say that.
Oh, too bad. You're just breaking all sorts of stuff on this show.
Music industry is a bunch of liars.
Yeah, I can't agree with that. Unfortunately, my other podcast is a music podcast, so it's based on the band Sublime and a lot of that musical genre. So, I grew up a diehard Sublime fan, and I'm working with the Knoll Family Foundation, and I do a podcast with their late frontman's sister, and we talk a lot about recovery and other stuff like that. So when I'm not hanging out with Nate and talking about disc golf, I'm hanging out with Kelly Noel, and we're talking to different musicians from a bunch of different bands, and so music and disc golf are kind of my two things.
Did you ever hear that one song they did called "What I've Got" or "What I Got" or whatever, something like that?
I'm somewhat familiar with that one. You're that guy, Jerm.
That was a good song, man. Damn.
Yeah, you're that guy, and that's okay. But you would be surprised how many times I get questions about what the etiquette is for music on the course, and if people are playing with earbuds and what they're listening to. And so now we got it out there.
Oh, Sublime! What a great listen when you're playing disc golf. I love Sublime.
Well, there you go. You can check out our cheap plug, Bradley's House podcast, available everywhere, and you can check that out too. We play a lot of cool music on there.
Nice.
Right on.
So, again, I know you guys are so excited about the season getting off and getting started. Jerm, what are you doing to relax before you get into the season here? Your time's running up. You're going to be out there playing soon. How you spending these last few weeks?
It hardly feels like relaxing, my man. I have my relaxing just comes when I go to sleep. I usually sleep in, and then when I get up, I'm like pretty much on the computer. I'm getting a lot of merchandise stuff ready for 2021. Working on practice round Prince apparel. A lot of people have been asking me about coming out with something for that. So I've got a disc stamp that's going to come out at some point. I've got a hat. I've got stickers, and anyone that really knows me and knows how extra I am about things knows that these are going to be like really well made things. And so like I could have pumped out a Big Jerm hat a long time ago, but now, but I don't want to just have like a basic hat out there with just normal embroidery and then just call it a day. I want something that's got a little bit extra on it, like a patch on the back or something. It's made with a nice silicone material with the Big Jerm logo, not just embroidery. So
we're not using Big Jerm anymore. It's Big Kahuna.
Yeah, I know, but I have to brand Big Jerm because I've already made the investment. So like, if I told him to change the logo up, it's just going to be wasted. So I appreciate that. I totally have thought about that, but unfortunately, the first couple of pieces of merchandise that I release are going to have to be under that brand.
Yeah, it's a transition. It's fine.
But yeah, that's been taking up pretty much all of my days. I'm working on getting a lot of really cool stickers and stuff like that. And it's just small pieces of just small things. Honestly, it's not like a whole store yet, but I want to get to the place where at some point I can, I'm really motivated by the idea of being the new Nate Sexton, and by that I want to be the newest fashionista in disc golf. And I know that that's Nate's title right now, but like one day I want to be the guy that kind of brings a disc golf culture that kind of matches what maybe like Hurley has done with like counterculture. Maybe I wouldn't call it counterculture, but like surfing. You associate Billabong and Rip Curl and Hurley and some of those other brands with surfing, but I wear those products, and I have never surfed, and I have no interest in really surfing. I know my body couldn't handle it, but I like the way that it kind of represents that culture, and I think disc golf has a very important message and a very important culture that we need to bring to some sort of clothing at some point. And I don't think I know any person in disc golf better for the job than me, honestly. And I kind of want to get to a place where someday that could be like one of the things I provide for the disc golf community.
I'll give it a try. It sounds good to me.
I knew you'd say that, and that's why I've got things on their way to you right now, buddy.
Well, you had that Indiana Jerm look going in your one practice round, so that's one style right there that you can go with.
Yeah, that was the Indiana Jerm thing I thought was going to be a big hitter. It might come back in 2021, but if I get these hats together, I really want to, like, baseball hats that's like been my style since I've started playing disc golf. So I don't know if I really need to change things up for any good reason, but.
Well, Nate, one of the things that we have done almost each week here on Running It with Nate Sexton is you've taken a disc from your bag and you've kind of given a breakdown on why you use it, how you use it, what you use it for. Why not just do one while we got Jerm sitting here with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've again, last time we did the Thunderbird for obvious reasons, hit one of his signature discs or his Tour Series disc. And this time we're going to do another disc that I know is near and dear to his heart that we both throw, and that is the Star Wraith, or just even the Wraith in general. Kind of an old stalwart distance driver now. I think it came out around 2006. It's a Speed 11 from Innova. And for me, it's a great distance driver if I feel like, I don't even really know why, but for me, I feel like it's just a mellower version of the Destroyer. The distance is not that different. I just feel like it doesn't swing as hard or flip as hard. And if I want to throw with a little bit more control, it just backing off the speed a little bit. And it also really is comfortable in the forehand as well. If I want to have like a really straight flying forehand with like still a decent finish at the end. So that's kind of the thing I use it for. Right now I'm only carrying one, but I bet you this guy right here is carrying more than that. And he uses it a lot more than I do.
The Wraith is a very important disc for not just me now, but the development of me in my game. Christmas 2006. So yeah, December 2006. I remember that was like 4 or 5 months after I started playing. Just, I have to have this disc. And I got a 167 grammed, like that neon yellow green Star Wraith. And at the time I was throwing the Orc like crazy because that was disc technology back then. And I remember going to Sugar Creek, and hole 10 was 375 feet. And it was actually hole 11. And I remember seeing this guy just rip one all the way down there. And I could get there, but I never got there that fast. And I just remember seeing it from the side, and I was like, dude, what was that? And he said, that's a Wraith. So the disc was brand new because I think it initially came out at the very end of 2005. And I was still brand new, so I didn't know all the discs that were out there in the market. But as soon as he said that, it reminded me of my local head shop that sold discs. And I remember seeing one there, and I was like, man, I have to get one of those. That is the disc I need. And when I got that Christmas present, I threw that disc all the time. The Orc kind of went to the side of the bag, and the Wraith was my new disc. And I learned pretty much everything that I know now about high-speed distance drivers and controlling that speed in the woods because of that disc. And I went to Discraft in 2008, and I played for them for 5 years, or 5 seasons. And then I played for Prodigy for 4 seasons. And Discraft had the Surge, which was very similar to the Wraith, but it wasn't quite as overstable, so it wasn't as good at high speed. The Wraith is like what Nate's saying. It's like that. It's a little bit more workable destroyer. It doesn't quite require as much left to right space. It can be a little bit more understable, so you can give it a little bit more hyzer and keep a straighter line in the woods. But it does give you the distance that you really need, but it gives you that controllability that the destroyer might skip a little bit more or require a little bit more fairway space. It just has been such an important disc, and like he says, he doesn't use it as much as I do. I've got anywhere from, if it's a course that's really heavily destroyer favorable, I might have 3 Wraiths in my bag. But if we're going somewhere in the woods like Delaware or Maple Hill, I'll have probably 5 different Wraiths in my bag that fly from incredibly understable to brand new that are a little bit more controllable than a destroyer, a little bit slower, but still pretty overstable. And I'll use each one throughout the entire event and probably not throw another high-speed driver other than a Wraith.
All right, so there you guys heard it. The Star Wraith on our disc breakdown. Guys, I got to ask you, and I'm sure that I have a completely different point of view than you guys do, but I get asked this question all of the time. It comes up in all of the comments. And after last week's show, Mez, you guys really pounded on James Conrad, and he held pretty tight. Didn't give it up, but the next day announced that he was going to MVP. Fans bring up all the time that why isn't the money announced? And every other pro athlete, when they sign a contract, we know how much they sign that contract for. Do you think eventually we'll get there in disc golf? Or is this something that you think will always just kind of stay under the carpet?
Well, I think an important distinction to make there is that disc golfers these are endorsement deals. These are not salaries as would be paid by like a league that's like has all their books open to the public in a way. So
Makes sense.
I don't know that we actually do know everything about other athletes' endorsement deals because we do not operate under like a big league that pays checks to the players. We have the PDGA that's like more of a regulatory body and like a sanctioning vehicle or whatever. They're putting their blessing on all the tournaments and doing the insurance and running that whole schedule, and they're very important, but they're certainly not paying players. So I don't know that will ever be like truly just like wide open in public, because it's a little bit different, I think, when it's a endorsement of a company rather than salary for like signing a contract to do a job for like a business, like a league.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about because it would certainly help the players who are working on contracts to kind of know what's out there and to recognize, I'm providing this and that and this and and this guy's providing this and that and this, and our contracts are similar, but what exactly, why, you see that with like wide receivers, like, hey, I'm the best wide receiver, man. Like, why am I like on the lower half of wide receivers and their agent goes to work for them, and so it is interesting for us to think about like how you can make a true living from the sport and really make it so that you're not playing from week to week and just relying solely on your earnings from tournament to tournament. But it's different. The scope of our sport is certainly different than any of those other major five.
Well, I think Nate made a great point that it's not a contract. It's an endorsement. And, we have no idea what Sprite is paying LeBron James. So, if you look at it that way, but let's be honest, you guys are all talking in the clubhouse or hanging out before, right? Like, hey, what are they giving you? See if your deal's better than mine, right?
For sure. Among friends, I think players are armed with a lot more knowledge than fans when they're going into those negotiations with the manufacturer, because certainly we are going to talk amongst ourselves and, and try to help each other, understand our value or understand, what this company is doing maybe differently than this company. And, that's all kind of getting passed around so that all the companies are, they're always in competition and trying to offer the most competitive deals to players to be able to, retain as much talent and the type of the brand ambassadors that they're looking for.
All right, now, before we get into fan questions here, I got to ask, just so we can keep it going. Jerm, you got any cool RV stories?
I've RV stories. That's always been like the dream, is to get in the RV and do the disc golf tour that way. But I've actually never had the luxury of having my own RV, and there are stories for sure, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head because
I made the joke last week with Jomez that this is not a disc golf podcast; it's an RV horror stories podcast. So it's funny how quick that dream can go nightmare. And what I'm going to ask you to do, Jerm, if you're willing, is give us a 90-second version. I know this is going to be tough for you. 90-second version of what happened when that Venza was rolling into Utah and you realized that your keys were about 400 miles behind you.
I didn't realize it until after I pumped the gas in the car. I don't know what happened. I was in Oregon. I actually had left Whistler's Bend, the doubles, and I was heading straight to Peoria for Ledgestone. And what should have been a 30-something hour commute ended up being 55 hours that I was in a car. Or around the car, but not like in a hotel, not sleeping, 55 hours around a car. I drove straight from Oregon to somewhere in Idaho, and I slept in a rest stop for about 2 hours, used the bathroom, came back to the car, and of course, because there's a steering wheel in the driver's seat, I slept in the passenger seat. So when I was organizing everything back into the passenger seat and getting everything situated, I believe I rested my keys on top of my car. Well, when the keys are close enough to the ignition, it'll start. What it also does is it gives you a little indication if your keys aren't detected in the vehicle, key not detected, don't drive away. Well, there was another message that was currently on that display board, so I did not see that message. So I'm thinking what happened is I drove 5.5 hours from Idaho all the way to Ogden, Utah. Like, I passed Toads, which is where the tournament literally happens for Utah Open, the exit before I pulled off and got gas. And I got gas, and I recognized that my keys are not detected. I hadn't gone to the bathroom. I literally just gone to pump gas, and so I was looking. It wasn't on me. It wasn't in my clothes, and then freak out mode began. Ended up being like a 6-hour detour. I had to get towed all the way to Salt Lake City, which is like an hour and a half. It ended up being like $500-600 for the new key, the tow, and everything included. It was a nightmare. So there's my nightmare story. That was awful. Absolutely awful.
That's our fans feed off of that. They love to hear that.
That's great. Well, eat up, baby, because that one cost me time and money.
Yeah, those keys that you just push the buttons, man. Those
Dude.
I was in the car business for a long time.
Expensive.
And I had a guy on a dealer trade getting a Corvette, and he had gone like 250 miles and stopped to get gas, and he couldn't get out of the car. He was locked in the car completely. The car shut down.
What?
Yeah, he couldn't get out of the car. We had to send AAA there, and we had to have somebody come out and cut a key right on the spot, and it was a huge mess. And I felt so bad for the guy that I got him another dealer trade 2 weeks later, and it was on another Corvette, and he calls me at like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, there's no way this happened again. And he goes, listen, I remembered the key this time. I've got the key, but I just pumped diesel into the car.
Oh, no.
So
This
I
guy
had to
does
send
not belong on the road.
So I had to send a flatbed and have it flatbedded the rest of the way and drop the tank, and yeah. So, but those keys, they'll get you, man.
Gosh. Yeah, they definitely will. I've had just like a plain key replaced that had, I guess, a chip in it. I guess if you just have a key that they have chips in them, so like you have a starter key that can start the car, but it won't drive. But then there's like keys that start the car with chips in it so they can drive. And one of those snapped in half because I was an idiot. I was like 22 years old, and I tried opening a beer bottle with a key. And I mean, I thought the key would be strong enough to open a bottle of beer, but apparently it was not. And then ended up being like a $200 beer. So that sucked.
That is no good.
It's stupid.
Well, Nate, we've introduced the fan questions, and we've given fans the opportunity to actually send an audio question into the show, so they could have their voice and their question be a part of Running It with Nate Sexton. Well, we got a ton of them for this episode, and we're never going to get to them all, but we did pick out a few that kind of stood out. And when I tell you these questions came from all over the world, these questions came from all over the world. We've had Sweden and Australia and London, and I can't believe the reach that this show's got, and all of the people that are looking to ask some questions. So, Jerm, what do you think, man? You want to take a couple questions?
Definitely. Let's get into it.
Hey, Nate and Jarett. and possibly another celebrity guest. My name's Callum. I'm from Scotland and currently live on the Isle of Bute, which is a small island off the west coast of Scotland, where there isn't much disc golf at all, really. So that's the basis of my question, would be, what do you guys think that is the best way to practice when there's no real disc golf courses and no great weather for playing disc golf in? So do you guys have any drills or anything you'd recommend for somebody wanting to practice? And probably the second part of my question links into that, being in Europe, obviously disc golf isn't as big as it is in the US at the moment. However, the Scandinavian countries are quickly catching up with some amazing course development. The UK is getting there as well. What do you guys think of the European scene, and do you think in the next few years we'll start to see kind of that same growth? Thanks very much for letting me speak, and thank you very much for the podcast, guys. It's going great, and I'm really enjoying listening to you. Cheers.
That's amazing. First off, this guy is clearly well versed in disc golf, which is just really cool. Those are questions from somebody who really has their finger on the pulse of the sport, and I think it's great hearing from Scotland. Nate, I don't know if you've met any other Scottish people who are involved with disc golf or who came across disc golf and were like incredibly interested.
I don't know that I have.
I have come across a number. I would say not anything crazy, but like I have met no less than 7 or 8 people who were Scottish and were just over here visiting, and were either at the brewery that we played, that we did our putting league at, or were walking in a park and there was disc golf. And I've met so many people from Scotland who had not been exposed to the sport, which blew me away, because I just when I have never been to Scotland, but when I think of like what I think of what the countryside might look like, I'm just thinking like, man, what a great place for like the windiest disc golf course ever on these like beautiful plains of land. I don't really know much about the infrastructure of the parkland and how they distribute what can go where. That's an important thing to understand about each area. And, you know, disc golf for a long time in America was strategically placed in the thick of the woods, strategically used baskets that kind of blend in with Mother Nature, because they weren't necessarily trying to say, hey, we've got disc golf here. It wasn't until the last 10 years or so, and more specifically, probably the last 5 years, where parks really understood the interest and the draw in disc golf and were more accustomed and more likely to use a yellow basket, put the baskets near the street so people could see it driving, and that would draw people into the park. So you have to work on a good relationship with the parks department in order to get disc golf courses in. And that's a tough thing to do when there's not a precedent of that already in Scotland. But man, what do you have to say?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, to Callum's question, I think it was Callum. I hope so.
Yeah, I think it was.
You know, putting practice, obviously, you're probably already doing that. The thing that I've heard of people doing, and I hope you're lucky enough to live at least in range of some people that also have a passion for disc golf. If you don't, that's even trickier. But I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I know that I have gotten messages in the past from people, I feel like either Singapore or Taiwan, and they said they didn't really have a course, but that they did have some public parks, and like the 4 or 6 of them would have their traveler basket, like a Innova Traveler, the cloth folding one, and they would get their day on the weekend to go out and take turns making up the holes and just playing a course in a public space out on the moors. I don't think it's plains in Scotland, Jerm. I think it's moors.
Okay, but, great, thank you.
But yeah, I think that would be ideal, you know, and what Jerm's saying is even one level past that. If you are lucky enough to find some parkland and be able to get a club together to be able to show the interest to have like a public facility, then fantastic. But before you can get there, I hope that you at least have some playing partners and that you guys can get out there and play either object golf or even better, go around to a basket and take turns setting that thing up. As far as European disc golf and the growth of European disc golf, I think you might be underselling Finland when you say they're starting to catch up with the United States.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe they already passed us. I mean, I don't think they passed us in terms of the pro scene, but in terms of the the
Public interest.
just how big of a part of Finland disc golf is. I think they're probably the world leader. So I hope that can kind of find its way into the Southern Europe and other parts of Europe. But I think it'll take time. I think it's happening, certainly in Estonia, Czech Republic, definitely on that growth curve as well. A lot of countries are. I'm really hopeful for that, moving into, Spain and Italy and some of those other, countries that you think of when you're thinking of like the big, important European countries.
It's really like the step away from the Olympics right now for us is that we have Scandinavia, we've got obviously, North America. And then, the other places in the world that play disc golf are kind of spotty. There's been a few small tournaments and clinics conducted in Africa, but it hasn't picked up in any major capacity. South America, I don't really know anything about disc golf in South America. I know there's small amounts of it in every place of the world, but as far as it actually gaining traction, I don't know what's taking the world so long to get the message. And when I think of the movers and shakers in the sport, I think of a few names, but one of them that comes immediately to mind since we're talking about Finland is Jussi Mieresma. And just the number of courses that he's had a direct hand in designing, installing, and all that. Think about where Finland would be if Jussi Mieresma was into curling, or like something else. I mean, the country has a very specific individual that they can point to and say, this is the man who pioneered this growth. And when I think of Scotland, I think, man, like how do we get more disc golf in the UK area? How do we get more disc golf in Scotland? How do we get more in Ireland? How do we get more in England? And I know Derek Robbins he's a Hall of Famer and he's an important disc golf figure in Great Britain, but maybe he's a good person to reach out to and say, hey, like he would better understand the hurdles in your area than I would. And so maybe he's the kind of person that you can maybe begin some correspondence with and try to figure out what do we have to do. But there's nothing that says that you can't be that person for your country that pioneers that growth. And with enough motivation and, a little bit of help from your American friends over here, helping you with deals, with getting courses installed and stuff like that, all it takes is just a couple of courses, and then you start getting word out in the newspaper and public interest starts getting bigger and bigger. And next thing you know, you got 2 courses in the area, and, the sport sells itself. Once a course is in the ground, you don't have to do any other selling. The disc golf itself is exploding for good reason. And so it just takes a little bit of effort on the front end, and then, it's amazing what happens after that.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to thank him for the question. And the last thing I want to say, when you say that, North America is already into disc golf, I just got to say we are dropping the ball on Mexico. And Mexico needs to get into disc golf. If you're a Mexican and you hear this show and you play disc golf, send me a message. Let me know how I can help. I know that Paul Macbeth is into it. He's got Mexican heritage. Him and I have talked before about the lack of disc golf in Mexico. Send me a message if you're in Mexico and you're playing disc golf and you hear this show. Send me a message. I want to help that scene grow. I don't know how yet. I just want to talk to you. Thank you. Let's hear that next question.
Our next question is for Jerm, and it comes from Doug Otto.
Hey guys, question for Jerm. As a tall guy, I've ran into a couple issues with low ceilings and other challenges in the disc golf course. What challenges or differences do you have as an above average human?
Not just height, but above average human.
Wait a minute. There was a leap there.
That is an open-ended question. I appreciate the acknowledgement that there are some struggles as a tall individual. One would be bruising my chin on the top of the refrigerator door. The endless stub toes. I mean, just endless supply of them. Bending over to to pick something up. I mean, I don't know. That's a that's a tough question. I don't know what it's like to not be tall. I've been tall ever since I got this tall, which has been a long time.
That's a great quote right there.
It's hard to remember because when you're getting older and everyone has that little growth spurt, you get to a point where everything just seems goofy and odd, and you're kind of getting used to your size. But that's so long ago that it's hard to remember what it was like when I wasn't 6'6". But disc golf specifically, if we're gonna go towards disc golf, it's awkward putting downhill. I gotta say, if like a steep downhill and it's like inside the circle putts, I always feel very uncomfortable with like, where do I put my legs? How do I do that? I think that's probably uncomfortable for everyone, but I think steep inclines and declines. So like doing a run up uphill, it's very difficult for me to get my body in a rhythmic manner when I'm trying to throw a backhand uphill, and that's something that I'm always impressed with, how James Conrad can kind of smoothly transition his body. Sometimes when he has to jump up onto a tee pad, how he can keep his body's momentum and balance centered. And it seems like it doesn't really affect him. It affects me big time. And I think that's probably a height thing. It might be a knees related or a back related thing as well. But I think I attribute that to height. So that's a problem I have.
Well, the local course right near my house, when Jeremy was here for ESPN commentary, we went out and played around, and he hit his head on a overhanging branch. And to this day, every time Coraline
really
and I go there, she's like, "Daddy, watch out for that branch." And I'm always like, "It's not an issue for us, Coraline. We don't need to worry about the branch. That's a big germ problem."
I whacked my head so hard.
Yeah,
I was walking backwards talking to Coraline, and then it's like one of those moments where you hit your head so hard that like it rattles you a little bit, and you also are around the presence of a child, so you have to like maintain your composure. But I did not want to maintain my composure at that moment. That hurt really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it rattled me good.
Well, there you have it.
Question,
Now,
though.
yeah, that's awesome. Now we've got another question. This one coming to us from Australia.
Hey guys, it's Jono here from Brisbane, Australia. Huge fan of the show, huge fan of Big Sexy. Now I've always wanted to know, Nate Sexton's calf definition. Is it big or is it sexy?
Fair question, because those calves are massive.
That's an old school showman's. That's a showman's fan right there.
Big or sexy? That's a first episode. That we never did that after that first episode.
Really? That's it? Okay. Well,
I think so.
I got to recuse myself here.
All right. A lot of pressure here. I got to say, before I got my teeth fixed, I don't remember a time when anyone was ever like, "Oh, I really like this one specific thing about you, Jerm." The one thing that I would ever get compliments by the fairer sex in my body, and I know this is an Nate question, but I would get compliments on my calves and on my legs. So, ipso facto, I have to say that if legs are sexy and they're drawing the eyes of the fairer sex, that Nate's calves, if you're even bringing this up at all, they've got to be sexy. I mean, I don't recall them being like big like Avery Jenkins tree trunks, but if they're notable at all, then I'm going to go ahead and go with the latter of the two.
No,
that's my final
I got
answer.
no problem with that. I have no problem with that.
They're also pretty big. So yeah, it's really just an amazing to see these questions coming in from all over the world, and to know that people are checking out the podcast. Now, Jerm, it's really cool that we got into it earlier in the show, because another question that I got on Facebook was somebody saying, "Hey, we know you are a huge fan of art. Who are some of your favorite artists?"
Ooh, wow. That's a really good question. I mean, that goes back to like what inspired me as a kid. So like graphically, I was always super inspired by MC Escher and his use of different dimensions in his work and like really challenging the brain, and his work with tessellations always really intrigued my eye for patterns. I was always really intrigued with geometric shapes and patterns and stuff like that, and maybe no one better to bring that art to the forefront than Escher. I really like graffiti, and I was really inspired by a lot of graffiti artists. A lot of them are no-name people, but I mean, like, I like the idea of messing with conventional norms like Banksy, but there's so many good artists. A lot of them aren't coming to my mind right now. I'm trying to think of Shepard Fairey. I really like his graphic stuff. He's really famous for doing the Obey brand, but he also did the Hope poster for Obama. He's done a lot of other portraits of notable figures, a lot of famous women figures. He's created the same style of portraits, and he's really great. I really like Keith Haring. He does those stick figures, those dancing stick figures. He's great. I was really inspired a lot when I was growing up with super photorealism, so I really like Chuck Close. He was my favorite, and probably the most excited I've ever been going to a museum was seeing an up close and personal Chuck Close, no pun intended, painting, just to see the detail that he's putting into it, and that he was doing these paintings in a wheelchair with like a machine that lifted him up was just fascinating. And I have one other artist that I really I'm struggling to remember his name right now, but I believe he's actually Scottish, so our Scottish listener might know who he is. But he does these amazing he takes photographs of things that he does in nature. So he's creating unnatural shapes with naturally found things. Like he'll spend like 8 hours creating this structure out of ice in a spiral and just take pictures of it, and then it will melt and then it'll be gone forever. Or he'll take different leaves and put them in a pattern so that the leaves kind of create this natural fade, and then the leaves just get blown by the wind and then it's gone. But he's really well known for his stone walls, where he creates these like stone walls that are in the shape of a river, and those are actually still up, and those don't get knocked down. But I really wish I could remember his name right now. But I remember discovering him in high school watching this documentary, and anyways, there's just so many people. I mean, it's hard to say because so much of my graphic style is just an influence of all these different directions. I mean, that's what art is. It's just there's nothing that's really truly original. It's all just being influenced by other things you've seen and experienced and enjoyed. But that's a great question. I'm glad they asked that.
Yeah, I'm a big Charles Schulz fan. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah,
he did
Peanuts.
Charlie Brown. And yeah, that's about as artsy as I get.
Yeah.
I did have an opportunity to go to the Louvre, and I did walk around the Louvre in France, and I'm told I saw some of the greatest art pieces ever made, but I just didn't appreciate it the way that it probably should have been.
Andy Goldsworthy. That's his name. Look up Andy Goldsworthy and just look at some of the images. Absolutely amazing stuff. I mean, it is just inspiring what he does just for the love of creating it, and then it's gone. It's just beautiful stuff.
Well, cool. I thought that was a really neat answer, and I knew that as you guys started talking about art and some of the things that inspired you earlier in the episode, I thought, wow, it's really cool that somebody else out there knew about this and was interested in who your artistic inspirations were, I guess. We've got another question that came in through email, and this one comes to us from Adam Grigsby. He says, how do you throw the AVR X3 so well and so far? I can forehand pretty well with mids and drivers and even a few different putters, but every time I try to flick my X3, it comes out wobbly and doesn't do what I want. I know that feeling.
Yeah, man, just call me Adam Grigsby.
Well, Adam, that's a good question. And definitely call Nate Adam Grigsby for a while, because he's the same issue that you're describing now. And it took a little bit of time. I got the AVRX3 a couple of months after it came out. I got one in the players pack from, I believe, the 2016 USDGC. And when I got it at first, it was the first ones they came out with were incredibly concave, and they were pretty deep rim, pretty deep profile. And honestly, I didn't find them to be that comfortable in the hand. So I didn't even really throw them. But next March or next April, sometime, there was my first season actually with Innova. My friend gave me one, said that they're really great for approaches and that I should try it out. And I had tried the AVR3 before the X3 came out, and it just wasn't for me. So I needed something with a little bit more stability. So I gave it a shot, and immediately, once I got over the fact that it was a little concave, the grip was kind of just a matter of really just trusting, putting as much spin on it as possible. And so that's what I was thinking in my head. I could throw this disc as hard as I want, and actually started to realize that the concave shape of the disc was benefiting me, because now I had a disc that I could throw really hard directly at the basket. And because it's concave, it doesn't have a ton of extra glide, and it really wants to get down to the ground pretty quick. So now I could run the basket with a great deal of confidence that I wasn't going to have a super long comeback putt. And so I started to just trust the disc would take any kind of torque I wanted to put on it. And that's what I think I like about the disc, is that it's very torque resistant. So, but to utilize that torque resistance, you have to make sure that you're throwing proper mechanics. And I still try to keep my palm up. I still try to keep my elbow in. But at the very end, I'm really focusing on giving that disc as much spin as possible. And with that spin, the disc will flatten its flight out. And the idea is that with more spin, you get less flutter. And so other than that, I'd have to really see a video of you throwing to see if I could figure it out. I still haven't been able to figure out what's wrong with Nate. And I've known him for a really long time. So who knows? Thanks for the question, Adam.
Yeah, Adam, thank you very much. And anyone else, guys, in the future, if you want to have any of your questions featured on Running It with Nate Sexton, the email is runningitpodcast@gmail.com. Just make sure you go ahead and send a clear recording over. And in the body of the email, type your question out. This prevents me from having to listen to the same question 3 or 4 times. I can read through, pick them out, and have you guys featured on the show.
And I just want to thank the people that have taken the time to do that. It's so much more fun to hear from the actual question asker.
Mm-hmm.
So really appreciate that.
Great.
And I hope everybody kind of gets going on that, because I think it just makes a better show if we can hear your voice reading the question and give the answer straight to you.
Yeah, well, I think we had another awesome episode, and you know what? We don't have to go too crazy, because Jerm, you're going to be back again to hang out with us, I hope. Anything that you want to plug? I know we talked about your social media and stuff last time. You got anything new going on that fans can check out?
Just following me on Instagram. I'm planning on doing some giveaways soon, because I do have I've got some cool merchandise coming in that I'm really excited about. I'm really happy to actually have something with the Big Jerm brand on it, and it's something that's really a long time coming. It's something that I've really felt kind of ashamed that I haven't had more in the past, but that'll be dropping before Vegas, before the season starts. There will be some stuff, so keep your eyes peeled if you're interested in anything that has my branding on it, or anything that if you like my stylistic, if you like the cut of my jib, if you will. I've got some cool stuff coming.
Yeah, Jerm, go click the link in my Instagram bio. Let me know if you need any of that gear, man. I'll definitely bring it to you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I was kind of already expecting you to do that without me asking. But since you're asking, I'll go ahead and get.
Yeah, tell me what specifically you're looking for.
Deal.
He's got the hookup.
You know a guy. All right, that's good.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, Jerm, thank you so much again for another awesome conversation, and look forward to plenty more. You guys can check out Nate, Jerm, Yuli, and Jomez on Showmez live every Thursday night on YouTube. Awesome time with that as well. I can see how much fun you guys are having, and these first couple shows with you guys all on there has just been incredible.
Yeah, man, check it out. It's 5 o'clock Hawaiian time, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Don't forget.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Thanks, Jerm.
Of course. Thank you.
Well, Nate, you did it again. Another amazing guest. Having Big Jerm back, it didn't feel too soon. In fact, I missed him while he was gone, so it was exciting to have him back on. It's always a great conversation with him, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm really glad that he's willing to come back on, and I'm excited about the prospect of having him kind of as a recurring guest and getting to maybe work in some little segments that we'll do only with him or whatever, and just have the fans look forward to sending in their questions for him.
Yeah, and he shared some cool stuff with us off air that he's going to share for the next time that he's on, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So again, guys, we thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Running It with Nate Sexton. You guys have questions, comments, anything that you want to hear us talk about, you can go ahead and email us. It's runningitpodcast@gmail.com. Nate is on Instagram at Frisbee Nate. He also has that page on Facebook, Nate Sexton. We have the Instagram page at Running It with Nate Sexton. And we thank our sponsors. Fisher Disc Golf has just meant so much to this show. Make sure you check them out at fisherdiscgolf.com using code RUNIT10. And of course, a huge thank you to our friends over at UDisc and all of the neat stuff that they've got going on. Nate, another awesome episode. I had a lot of fun, and I know that there's a lot of shows out there that are starting to talk about some disc golf, and there's a lot of fun stuff going on, and sometimes people kind of just like to be safe, and they're going to go ahead and lay it up. But here...
Man, map-based scoring, there's nowhere to hide. We got to run it.